let's talk about that weird dynamic at work. Why the boss who bows up always kicks down. So, let's just jump right in. In any company hierarchy, who's the most dangerous person?
Now you'd probably point to the CEO, right? But the real threat? It's usually way closer to home. Yep, the biggest danger often comes from the person just one step above you on the ladder.
And this kind of behavior, it's not random. Psychologists actually have a pretty great name for it.
They call it the bicycle reaction. You bow to who's above and kick who's below. Perfect, right?
Okay, so what's really driving this? What is going on in their head?
It all boils down to one thing, a really powerful emotion, status anxiety. It's all about fear. And this chart just says it all. The person at the top, secure. The one in the middle, totally terrified. See, the top dog feels safe, they can afford to be generous, they've got nothing to lose. But that person in the middle, oh, they're scared. Their position feels super shaky.
It's a double whammy. Fear of falling and fear that you are going to take their spot.
And that intense fear, it pretty much forces them to kick down to feel a little more secure. You know the moves. Criticizing, belittling, micromanaging, all to keep you in your place.
So what's the big takeaway here? What does this cruelty really tell us?
When someone is just mean for no good reason, it is almost never what you think it is.
It's so easy to see it as a sign of their strength, but it's not at all.
What it really is a confession of their own fragility. It was never about you.
Let's talk about something weird, the economics of respect. What do those two things have to do with each other?
We're all taught that if you're kind and generous, people will value you. But is that really true?
I mean, that's what we hear our whole lives. But the game of social status works differently.
The truth is, there's a simple, kind of brutal principle at play that most of us just miss.
This idea comes straight from economics and psychology. Let's break down what it really means for you.
It's not about what something is actually worth, but what people think it's worth.
And if you're always available, always saying yes, you're sending a powerful signal.
You're basically telling the world you're not scarce at all. And in economics, that means one thing.
If there's an infinite supply of something, it's seen as having zero value. If it's rare, it's valuable.
That's why status goes to people whose attention is scarce, not those who give it away freely.
Okay, so how do you build that high perceived value? It's actually pretty simple.
You force people to invest in you. You set a price, whether it's money, time, or just boundaries.
This triggers something powerful in our brains. See, once we invest in something, we have to justify it.
They think, I paid a high price, so this person must be worth it. That investment turns into respect.
So this completely changes what it means to be generous, doesn't it? Remember this, protecting your value isn't selfish. It's actually necessary if you want to be respected.
So it really leaves you with one big question. What is the true price of your attention?
All right, let's dive into a powerful hidden force that's shaping basically everything around us.
You know, we're all taught that competence and good character are what really count for success.
Yeah, not quite. The hard truth is our brains have this hidden glitch that gets in the way.
And that ancient programming, it has a bug that messes with our judgment every single day.
It's called the halo effect. If someone looks good, our brain just assumes they are good.
So we see someone attractive, and bam, our brain fills in the blanks. Competent, kind, a leader.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. Economists have actually put a number on this advantage.
The impact is huge. It affects everything from getting a job to getting a lighter prison sentence.
So you can see, this bias creates a massive, measurable gap in people's actual lives.
Sound familiar? We've all seen this play out, and the halo effect is usually the reason why.
And it's brutal because it's biological. Our brains are just wired this way, below our conscious control.
It's an unearned head start in life. Basically, a total genetic lottery.
Okay, so why should you care? Because you can't change your genes, but you can change your awareness.
Once you know this rule exists, the whole game starts to look different. You'll spot it. So now that you know, can you see it? Because spotting this bias is the only way to fight it.
Okay, let's dive into the unseen power dynamics in every social interaction. Turns out, it's not just a game, it's a fundamental principle of social power.
And this simple idea, it applies everywhere. Negotiations, dating, you name it.
So what's the flip side? Well, it's the trap of appearing way too needy.
When you seem desperate, you're sending a powerful and really negative signal.
And these behaviors, They basically just scream dependency to everyone around you.
This immediately puts you in a lower status, much weaker position.
It all comes down to a really fascinating psychological idea, the principle of least interest.
So the person who's least invested in keeping things going, they're the one holding all the cards.
And this lays it out perfectly. It really shows the two sides of this whole power dynamic.
Psychologically, this is what we all pretty much just call being cool.
People with this personality type, they're self-contained and just naturally hold high status.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this mindset can completely flip the dynamic.
It works because it taps into a very predictable, very fundamental part of human nature.
By being self-contained, you become the thing that other people can't easily have or control.
In this hidden social game, the winner is, well, it's always the same person.
Their power comes from one simple but incredibly powerful ability.
That willingness, that is the ultimate source of all your social power.
Let's talk about strategic kindness and the very real hidden cost of favors.
You know, this quote really says it all. Sometimes help isn't really help at all.
So you have to wonder, is this actual kindness or is it just a well-disguised trap?
Because look, in the game of social dynamics, there is just no such thing as a free lunch.
And this creates something called the favor debt. It's that heavy feeling, right, that you owe them.
This whole tactic, it weaponizes one of our core instincts, that powerful need to return a favor. So how do they build this leverage over you? Well, it's a simple and kind of scary three-step process. And look, the difference is huge. Real kindness asks for nothing. This stuff, it's all about control. I love this quote. It's literally a loan shark operation, but for favors.
So what's the real cost? You're in their debt. And the payback they ask for? It's always bigger.
Look, this isn't about being paranoid. It's about protecting your own freedom, plain and simple. So the number one rule is this. You've got to be super careful about whose help you accept, which really leaves you with one final question. Because, hey, it's your freedom on the line.
Let's get into a really powerful, kind of dark concept in group psychology, the scapegoat mechanism.
Unity requires an enemy. Whoa, that's a pretty intense idea, but it's often true.
See, in any group, tension just builds up. Think jealousies, rivalries, all that fun stuff.
So to keep from imploding, the group unconsciously picks someone to blame everything on.
And this whole process actually has a name. It's the René Girard scapegoat mechanism.
What's wild is how it happens. It follows these 5 clear steps, almost like a ritual.
After they've punished the scapegoat, suddenly everyone feels tight-knit and bonded again.
But here's the key. The group's story is totally different from the reality of the situation.
So let's flip this around. Has this ever been you, the one getting blamed for everything?
Just think, maybe you weren't incompetent. Maybe you were just the sacrifice keeping them all together.
But this kind of unity is super fragile. It's built on a lie, not a real solution. Which leaves us with one last, kind of tough question to ask yourself. Who is it in your group